Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we are going to be installing fog lights on the 11th gen Civic, specifically the 2022 to 2024, as the 25 now has a bumper facelift and no longer has fog light holes. Now, I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're aware that the 2022 through 2024 has fake fog lights. So it has basically empty covers in the fog light holes on the base models, the SIs, and the sports. I do believe the sport touring and the touring did come equipped with fog lights. If there was another model, I'm sure a comment expert could come in and clear that up. But I know the touring had fog lights, and I'm 99% sure that the sport touring did as well. So some models did come equipped with fog lights and the rest did not. So I own a 2024 Civic Si, which is what sparked the interest in this project. And I'm going to be getting into how I installed a fog light setup on my 11th gen Civic. Now, there are multiple ways you can go about doing this. Multiple ways. I just want that to be very clear. I'm doing it the way I preferred to do it and what I found to be the easiest route. You can completely install an OEM setup in this car if you want, which is with the original stock signal switch like the Touring comes equipped with. You can run all the wiring with the relay in the correct spot in the fuse box, all of the above. If you want to go that route, that's perfectly fine. I completely understand, but that is not what I'm going to be doing here. However, I am going to be doing a very clean OE style install, which when it's all said and done will give you full fog functionality with the high beams and also still look OEM and be a very clean job at the end of the day. And I am also utilizing the OEM fog housings, which come equipped in the Touring and many other models like the CR-V, the Pilot, etc. So many Honda models do have fog lights. They just got cheap on us and didn't install them on the SI, which they have in previous generations, and the sports and base models. So just want to clear it up. This is not a complete OEM install as it would come on a car that you purchased from the dealer like a Touring. However, it'll still give you full functioning fogs, and I am extremely happy with the result. So once again, there are multiple ways you can go about doing this. You could go the OEM route, you can go aftermarket. So you can get, aftermarket housings off of eBay. You could get so many different option fog lights with different housings from Amazon, eBay, different places you can utilize the OEM housings. A lot of different ways you could approach this job. I approached it in which I felt was the easiest and most comfortable for me. So this is how I did it, and I'm going to completely get into the full how-to breakdown of everything I did, from part numbers to the install and everything in between, guys. So let's get into it now.
Alright guys, so here's all the components we need to make this happen and put fogs on the 11th gen Civic. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, there are multiple approaches you can do to get fog lights. There's different routes you can take as far as the assemblies, there's different routes as far as the wiring, and there's different routes as far as the switches. So there's multiple ways. This is just the way I preferred to do it, and it seemed to be the easiest from experience on doing this on other cars. Okay, so we got the original OEM Honda fog lights. Now this is what these cars should have came with, and if you look at these part numbers on a Honda parts site, it'll list them for like Passports, Ridge Lines, CR-Vs. So other Hondas come equipped with these fog lights. They were just cheap and didn't put them on our 11th Civics. Okay, so here are the part numbers. For the right-hand passenger side, it's going to be 33900-T20-A01. And then for the left driver side, it's going to be 33950-T20-A01. Okay, now these are the OEM original Honda parts, LED housing fog lights. And the reason I really wanted to get the LED ones is because they're OEM. They're going to match the OEM LED headlights perfect. Okay, so in my opinion, as far as the assemblies are concerned, this is a great option as they are OEM. They should fit like a glove. They have the LED which would match the headlights. All in all, just a great option. Not that you can't get some good aftermarkets, but you know, can't beat some original Honda fogs. Okay, so that is the fog light assemblies. That is what we're going to be installing into the front bumper. Now, again, there are multiple ways to wire this up. You could utilize the OEM stalk, so you can get the, you know, switch stalk for the steering column. I'm choosing to utilize a switch underneath on the driver's side where the blank switch panel is. Okay, so you got the one OEM switch and the two blanks. I'm going to go that route and utilize that, as I feel like it's just going to be a hair easier. Okay, so here's the wiring that I got from Amazon, and it came with the switch. So there is the switch. I already mocked it up. It is a perfect fit in that blank spot. So that is the switch, and then this is just like a almost universal style harness kit. So it has pretty much everything you need to run fogs to a vehicle. It has a fused setup, a positive. We have our grounds. Okay, it has a relay as it should, and it has the harness that's appropriate for the switch. And then we got our two harnesses for the fog lights. All right, so two harnesses for the fog lights. This is fused, positive, and ground, relay, and then our switch. Okay, so this was 20 bucks off of Amazon. So full harness, this is all you need, is 20 bucks. Now, one thing, you can't just buy this harness and plug it right up to the OEM fogs, because as I mentioned, that is the plug. This is almost like a HID style plug. Okay, now if you just come to the OEM factory fog, obviously this plug does not fit that fog light. Okay, so we need adapters to adapt that harness to those fogs. And there's a guy on eBay who makes them and sells them, and they are really nice. So I got both of these off of eBay. It's 50 bucks for the pair. They are really high quality. Dude has a ton of different Honda application harnesses that he makes for, you know, projects like this. These things are awesome. They just plug right in here, right to the harness, and then this is a perfect plug and play right onto the fog light. All right, so that's literally all you need. You need these adapters to go from the entire harness to the fog light, and then you just need the fog light adapter harness to go to the actual assembly, guys. All right, so that is our parts, guys. You just need these adapter harnesses to go to the OEM fogs. You need your relay wiring setup, and you need the assemblies, and that's all we should need to get fog lights on our 11th gen Civic, guys. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so as we're aware, this car has the fake blank fog light covers, I guess you can say, where the fog lights are supposed to be. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get into the install of getting these fog lights installed. Now, of course, the first step is going to be removing the bumper. Okay, this car is brand new. It's a 2024. It's only got 2,000 miles on it. I've owned it for about 3 months, and I can't say I'm too excited to take the front bumper off, but it's not the hardest thing in the world, guys, so we're going to get it done successfully. And if you've seen some of my other videos, I own a 9th gen SI as well, and when that car was brand new, I bought that one brand new as well. I had the front bumper off, you know, in the first couple months. So same thing here, guys. It's nothing different. We're going to get this bumper off, and then we'll get these fog lights all set up and situated, and then we'll have fog lights on our 11th gen Civic, guys. All right, guys, now one thing I would suggest before you go tearing your front bumper off and getting this installed is testing it to ensure everything works before you go ahead and start getting into the actual installation of removing everything. Okay, so what I have is this mocked up here under the engine bay. Really, all it needs is a 12-volt positive and a ground. Okay, so what I did is I have test lead gator clips. I just test lead gator clipped to the ground, got another one to the positive. Make sure that you have, you know, raw metal here, so if this touches metal, it will pop and ground out. So make sure that stays on plastic and doesn't touch any metal when you're doing this test. Okay, so I have everything ran here. The relay is plugged in, the switch is plugged in. I have my adapter set up and plugged in to the fog light, so everything is plugged in. So upon connecting this to the positive, our fog light should come on. Okay, guys, so go ahead and open this up. I'm just going to clamp this right onto this bolt here. All right, And this should hit the switch and bang, we have fog lights, guys. Okay, so turn them off, you can hear it switching. Perfect, it works. Okay, so positive and a negative, it's all you need. We got these tested, we confirmed that they work. Okay, so we'll go ahead and turn those off. We'll take this off the positive, and now we know our fog lights both work. Our whole setup of, as far as the harness and the relay works, our adapters work. And one thing I do want to note, if by any chance you go to test these and they don't turn on, these aren't marked positive and negative on these adapter harnesses that I got from eBay. So it would have been helpful if they are. But if it doesn't come on, you just need to take this off and flip it around. So you would literally unplug it and just turn the harness around and plug it in. I bet it will come right on. Okay, so if by any chance they don't come on first try like it just did for me, I did do this prior and tested to make sure that they worked. So I had one that was flipped the correct way, this one wasn't. I flipped it around and it came right on. Okay, so that's all it is, guys. You just need to make sure that's in the correct orientation as far as this plug right here is concerned, and they'll both come on, guys. All right, so we have confirmed that these both work. Everything works in our setup. It's ready for installation, guys. So let's go ahead and get this front bumper off. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get this front bumper off. Now, if we're looking at the directions from Honda, it outlines removing the 4 clips right here and then the 2 right here. Okay, it doesn't have this one outlined as being removed, so I'm going to go ahead and try to leave that one. So we got 2, 4, and then 2, totaling in 8. So we're going to remove all 8 of these clips on the top of this bumper. We're going to go ahead and pop these out with a panel remover tool, and then we'll go ahead and get on to the next step. All right, guys, so just got my tool here. You can really utilize whatever one you prefer. There's many of these that will work, but as you can see, I just kind of got under it on the edge and then pulled it right up, guys. Okay, so to not lose these, I'm going to go ahead and just put them on the cowl for now. All right, looks like there's a nice gap on this side here for this one. Go ahead and get that started, and then I'll pop up on it. You can also probably use a plastic one of these tools, guys. Whatever you feel comfortable with, go ahead and do it. I usually tape these off and stuff to make them, you know, not as aggressive when you're using metal on clips, because, you know, something like these cars, obviously if you're doing a job like this, you're not trying to chew anything up. So definitely want to do this with caution, guys. But we got those 2 out. We're just going to keep going down and get the remaining 6 out, and then we'll get on to the next step. All right, guys, and just for reference, you know, here is a plastic one. Honestly, this might be a better option if you aren't too comfortable using a metal pry. But yeah, I mean, I got this thing right down as well with the plastic, and you'll probably feel better using a plastic one around this painted area here on the inner part of the bumper where it's under the hood. So yeah, guys, just use what, like I said, you feel comfortable with, and take your time, and you should have no issues popping these out. All right, guys, we got those 8 push clips out, and just for reference, I was an idiot and took this one out on camera because I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy worried about recording. And like I said, I think we could leave this one in according to the Honda directions, so that one needed to be removed. So we got those 2 out. Now we got 2 more up here we need to remove. We got one of these short push clips in each corner here, okay? So should be able to approach those with a plastic pry bar as well. I have a smaller version of the one I kind of was just using. I'm just going to try to get under it here, and this one's actually a little chewed up from me using it in the past, but try to use a small end here. All right, guys, I got it. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's pushed out. Just kind of need to pull that rubber back, and then you can get that thing out. So we'll put this up here on the end of the cowl with the rest of our push clips. So I'll just go ahead and get the other one off here on the passenger side, and then we'll have all the clips up here removed. All right, guys, we got all these upper clips out here. So now we can pretty much move on to the bottom. This right here actually should like pull up and separate like that. So literally I just grabbed it right underneath that rubber and pulled it up. Nothing crazy. Come to the other side, hook it, lift up. So you can see that whole front part of the bumper now completely loose. All right, so there we go. You just want to pull up on that. We got that free. Now we got to get to the bottom, and as you can see, I have this thing on jack stands. In my opinion, you need to put the front end in the air. You could ride up on ramps, you could put 2 jacks on each side, you could put it on jack stands, however you choose to do it. On these 11th gens, they made it a little bit harder. It's the same thing with the 10th. They set the front garage jack point, which used to be like almost aligned with the radiator support. It's way like behind the front wheel, or like aligned with the back of the front wheel now. So how I did it is I just took a floor jack here and jacked up one side at a time. I threw a brick under the tire. Same thing on this side. Came over here, jacked this side up, threw a brick under the tire and lowered it down. That lifted the front up, and that allowed me to squeeze the jack underneath of the front in the front jack mount point, which I'll show you guys here. It's that right after this aluminum pan here, that right there with the circle in it, that is your front jack garage point. Okay, I'll put a picture of it here, but that's how you get your front end on the air, guys. So once you have it jacked up, you can lower it down on jack stands. So as you can see, I have jack stands on both sides. Front is supported on jack stands, and now we can get under this thing and get the rest of this removed to get the front bumper off. All right guys, so as you can see, we are under the car here. So we have a few things we need to remove, mainly push clips, a bolt, and a screw. Okay, so we have pretty much any push clip you see that's in red paint is what you want to remove. There are 10 in total. So you got 1, 2. All right, then we're going to come here to the paint. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you come to the other side, 9, and then that 10th one right there. Okay, you do not need to remove these right here. That is just holding in that little, you know, rubber little valance. I'm not sure what you want to refer to that as, but these right here lining this do not need to come out. We're just popping out all of these. So same approach, we're going to pop out these clips, and then we'll get on to removing this 10 mil and that Phillips, and then we'll have this all free down here. All right guys, just going to start here on the corner and start really wherever you want. Doesn't matter, but same approach. These are the exact same clips that we had on the top. So I'm going to come in here with a panel popper. Sorry, I might be hitting the camera here. But we're just going to go ahead, come in here, get these popped out. All right, just be careful with them, especially if you're doing this, you know, and the car is a bit older. These clips can get pretty fragile from all the elements and weather, and they might crack and break, but you know, you can acquire them cheap from even the dealer or Amazon, eBay, whatever. But just be careful with them, man. Whether you're doing them under the hood or, you know, down here below the bumper, just tread carefully with them. You don't got to go crazy. I'm just trying to get in there and then pop it right out. All right guys, so I'm just going to do that for the remaining 8. Remember, there are 10. Just follow the paint and you can get all these clips out, and then we'll get the last things remaining down here. Okay, all right guys, we got all 10 of these clips out here, aligning the bottom of the bumper, the 2 on each corner, and then the 6 in the middle. So now on each side, okay, there is a Phillips right here with a 10 mil right behind it. So you can use a screwdriver, socket wrench on them, whatever you want. I'm just going to use an impact on both. I have an impact here lined up with that Phillips. Got that out. All right, so put that to the side. All right, so that Phillips is out right there. I just swapped out the Phillips on my impact with a 10 mil. So now I'm going to get this 10 mil directly behind it. Fire that 10 mil right out, and then we have both the Phillips and the 10 mil removed right here from pretty much under where the fog light is. Okay guys, so we got that free. I just got to get the 10 and the Phillips on the other side, and then we'll have everything lining the bottom of this bumper all removed. All right guys, so I'm here at the wheel liner, okay, and the wheel, it's on the driver's side, nothing crazy, and I got everything down here removed. So everything from the bottom of the bumper removed. Now pretty much everything that's holding us up now is just here on our inner fender side. Okay, so the first thing is going to be this Phillips staring us right in the face right here. If we use an impact, screwdriver, drill, whatever, I just have a Phillips. I kind of wanted to be tread carefully here with this. Still in my ginger stages with this car. I really don't even want to do this right now, but I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm just going to buy the car and enjoy it. That lasted for like 2 months, guys. Then you're just like, well, start looking at pictures on Instagram, and then next thing you know, your car's hooked up. So we got that. All right, that is out. Now if you look up in here, get a flashlight on it for you, there is a push clip right there. Okay, so I'm going to get in there with a panel popper. We're going to pop that push clip out, and then that will allow us to get in to get the Phillips that is retaining the bumper right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop that out. Put the flashlight here down on the tire. Try to see if I can sneak in here with this panel tool. The orientation is kind of dumb. Spin it to the side there, which it allowed me to do, so I can get under that little cutout spot where it's intended to be popped out. It's fighting me here, guys. It's hard to see. It might help taking the wheel off or turning the wheel when you're doing this, but you can do it without doing either, as I just did, because I just got it popped out, guys. So that is popped out. Okay, so we got both of those out. Now that that clip in our Phillips here is out, it pretty much frees up the wheel liner here, so you can kind of get your finger behind it and just start peeling it back. All right, so that then reveals the Phillips right there. That is the last thing holding us in, guys. We just need to get that Phillips out with the screwdriver I just used, and we'll get that thing right out. All right, guys, might not be the best angle, hopefully you can see, but I got the screwdriver on it and I'm just carefully turning that thing out. Okay, so there we go, guys. Looking pretty good. Just gotta back it out a hair more, and here it is, guys. We got it out. All right, so both Phillips are removed. We got the one retaining it here to the fender. We got the Phillips out right here, and we got that push clip that allowed us to get the one retaining it to the fender. So all good, guys. This is all done here on the driver. I'm gonna go repeat these steps and get these same, two Phillips and the clip out on the passenger side, and then we can go ahead and get into getting this bumper off. All right, so passenger side is good. Got the clip and the two Phillips out. So now we are ready to start removing this thing. And if you can see, I have some painter's tape here just for safe measure. This is more so for when it's popping off and you put it back on, so like when this is hanging and flopping, it doesn't start scratching your fender. Honda recommends doing this and taping everything out upon doing this job. If you look at the instructions for this, and it's something I frequently do on nice cars that you're trying not to mess anything up. Okay, so we got that taped out, because what we're going to do now is start pulling this bumper off and releasing it from the clips and the car itself. Okay, so we're going to come over here to the driver's side. Got it taped up. If you just take your hand and put it behind here, you should be able to just start popping that out. Okay, see, I got that popped out. It's pretty much the same as any newer style bumper, like 2005 and up, pretty much. Even some of the earlier 2000s than that had this style bumper. So very similar to any other bumper you've probably taken off, especially if you've done Honda bumpers before. Okay, so got that popped out. We're going to come to the other side here. All right, we are on the passenger. Same thing, just gripping behind here. You can even put your thumb here for a little bit of pressure. Don't go crazy. Trying to work your way up and pop it out. Okay, both sides free. Okay, guys, so we got that freed up. So now, as you can see, we got to get it freed up from the front here. Now, you could probably pull it, although I really don't recommend it. And most people who've done this in documented form, like on YouTube or on forums, they come in here and get these 5 clips. There's 5 clips retaining the bumper, then that'll essentially allow it to fall off and free up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get into that now, and I'll show you how we'll release these clips. All right, guys, bumper release time on the passenger side was successful. We just got to do it again on the driver. So there are these tabs that retain it into these. Okay, these tabs. Now, first thing, the plastic trim here, I don't think you have to. I've seen some other people do it without removing it. I just thought it was smart to remove it. So what I did is I put 2 layers of tape here, of painter tape, and then I popped it up. Then it allowed me to get in here and get these released to free up the entire bumper corner. Okay, so don't worry, I'm going to go step by step with you on the driver's side to show you how I did this. So let's get into it and get the other side released and get this front bumper off. All right guys, here on the driver's side, we just need to release this portion of the bumper and it's ready to come off. So as you know, we have this plastic piece of trim here. We need to remove that first. I'm going to tape out right here with yellow painter's tape as we did elsewhere. You do have to pry on this to get it up. In my opinion, tape it out. Be safe, be smart, don't risk it, and get it done correctly. Okay, so I'm gonna put 2 layers of tape right here and then we'll get that popped off. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pop this plastic trim underneath the headlight out. Okay, so I have 2 plastic trim tools here. How I did it on the opposite side is I started it with the small one to allow me to get under it. I took another one and got underneath of it, and there's just literally plastic clips holding it into the bumper, so we should be able to start popping these up gently. Might not sound the best. Now, one thing, you might get stuck here because it kind of puts itself at a ramp and shoves itself underneath the headlight. So what you got to do is kind of, after you pop it out, is push it back in to the holes where it came from, but then start pulling it up from the rear. And you kind of got to finagle it out. Okay, so if you can see, I'm almost pulling it out from behind and underneath of the headlight, and I'm just working my way down slowly. And you might get another clip reattached in the process of this, which is not the end of the world. You can kind of even pop it out with your finger as I'm doing. Just get really careful here in this corner, because this is the hardest part, is getting this corner out without molesting it. But there we go guys, trim out, pull it out. And that now allows us to get underneath this headlight to get our 5 retaining clips holding the bumper into the headlight. So let's get those out. All right, so we have our plastic trim out, and now we can see the 1, 2, 3. 4th one is gonna be right there, and then we got one that's like right in this vicinity here. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just get under here with a plastic pry as we've been doing, and just kind of push them up. And when you push them up, it pretty much just takes itself out, and you really don't need to do much from there. You might be able to pull it forward a hair as you do this on each one, so you can keep them out, you know, from popping back in essentially. But just try to carefully use plastic here. You could get plastic pries extremely cheap from Walmart even these days. So I mean, it's pointless to try to do this with metal. You're just going to be harming yourself. Or not harming yourself, harming your pockets when you mess this up, because you harm the car. All right, so I got all these out, guys. You know, I mean, well, I should say all 4 of these out that are visible. There is one that isn't visible, so you can see how there's that hole there now in the back. Got 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one's just going to be really hard to see, but it's popped out. So we got all 4 of these in the front popped out. Now what I'm going to do is get my hand behind here, and we're going to pop that 5th one out by hand. And this should release the front of the bumper and come out from this headlight. All right, guys, so I'm just kind of here aligned with where the ugly amber blinker starts. All right, so what I'm going to do is get my hand behind here, and I'm going to try to get my fingers in this vicinity, and hopefully you guys can see this. There it is. You heard it pop. I think we pretty much got it here, guys. Yep, there it is. All right, she slid off, guys. So literally just released it from the back on this 5th one right here. You can see it's right underneath that amber reflector. That is the 5th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, bumper is free. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this thing off. And what I would suggest, especially if you're doing this solo, is put a couple towels on the ground or a blanket or something that you can rest it on once you pull it off. I think I might just go walk it to the grass, but just tread carefully, guys. You don't want this thing hitting the asphalt or the cement that you're working on. All right, so let's get this thing off. All right, guys, bumper's hanging off, and I should be able to escort it on off. There we go, guys. Bumper's off. Go put this in the grass safely. Sit it down extremely gently. I'm trying to work around this jack here, but we got it off. All right, guys, we are behind the bumper here, and I already got one swapped out. I'm gonna do the next one on camera with you, but here is this BS fake blank. I mean, it's so cheesy, man. I can't believe they did this. They really could have just put fog lights on these, especially since like the 9th generation, for example, came stock SIs with fog lights. So I don't know, guys, they're wilding, but there we go. That one is in. Go ahead and take it to the front. You can see the difference. All right, you can see that we got an actual fog light versus that blank. So definitely even noticeably and visibly different, and a visible difference in the front, guys. So let's go ahead and get this driver side one replaced here. So there is a passenger and the driver, and they do go in a particular way. So the passenger again is 33900-T20A1. Got that one in. And then if we come over to the driver, it's going to be 33950-T20-A01. Okay, now to get these blanks out, they're just held in with 2 screws, okay? 2 Phillips. I just have a Phillips on a impact. I'm gonna go ahead, fire these right out. All right, we got that bottom one. Let's get this top. All right, and just gonna put that over here with the other one. And bang, there it is, guys. Our fake blank is out. Now, one thing I want to note, and this is how you know the orientation. Obviously, you only got the caddy corner screws, but you have this tab here that's just like a plus sign, and then you got one down here that is a cross. It's a little bit bigger. So you got a plus sign, then you got a cross. The cross has a bigger opening gap down in that corner, so you know which one goes where. So the plus sign, the cross sign, it's pretty obvious on which one is which. So go ahead and guide this bad boy in. You can see the plus and the cross fit over accordingly. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these Phillips and we'll get this thing screwed in. All right, guys, I'm just starting it by hand and then I'm gonna fire it in with the impact. All right, the bottom one here on the corner. And then just to ensure they're tight, I'm gonna hit them with a Phillips just to ensure we got them in there nice and tight. Sorry, camera is literally falling all over. My tripod is on its last limb, literally. But there we go, guys. That is in. Driver's in. Passengers in. New fog lights are in. So we got these blanks out. Our work here is done on the bumper. And now we just got to get into the wiring and get this thing all wired up. All right, guys, it is wiring harness installation time. So what I have is this wiring harness just laid out next to the driver's side of the car, which is where it's going to be getting installed. Okay, you got your longer side here that runs right to the passenger, and then we have the one that goes to the driver. I do have my adapters already installed for the fog lights, and then you got your relay here, and you got your positive, your ground, and then the wire going to the switch. I am probably just going to pull power inside of the cabin and extend that wire. Okay, I think that's how I'm going to do this, and then I want an accessory. I mean, you know, really how this is set up, it's for 12-volt constant, which is, you know, the wire always has power no matter if the car's on or off, and a ground. I'm going to put it to an accessory, which means it's only on and gets 12 volts and it only has power when the key is on or the ignition is on. Okay, so when the ignition comes on, it will then give these power. So only allowing these fog lights to work when the car is on, not when it's off. That's my goal. So I'm going to extend this wire. I'm just going to crimp another, you know, red wire on there, extend it out, and then we're going to drop this in and get this installed. All right, guys, so like I said, I want to extend this wire to reach in cabin for our power source on this 12-volt wire. So I'm just going to cut that terminal off. I'm going to strip it a hair. All right, I have more red wire here. It's not as fancy as this, you know, nice red and white wire that it came with, but nonetheless, guys, it's red wire and it's going to get the job done. So I already used this before in the past, so it's already stripped. So I'm going to push that in. I'm going to twist this one up. I'm just going to crimp this together. Nothing fancy. You can electrical tape and solder, crimp. Usually I'm not a huge fan of crimps, but on this job I think it's the right choice. Totally up to you, whatever preference you have. Either way, you can 1,000,000% do it successful, guys. So I'm just going to crimp this down all the way through, ensure that this is locked in, and then we have our 12 volt here extended to reach in the cabin, and that way I can pull 12 volts from an accessory source, not have constant just from the battery, as I prefer it to be wired. All right, so there we go, guys. Crimp together, good to go. Just pull on it, give it some tugs, make sure it's tight, and we have an extended 12 volt wire there to reach in the cabin. So now let's get this harness installed. All right, guys, so this is set up to be on the driver's side, of course, as our fog switch is going to be right here on the driver. Now, you can watch other videos and people have used the same location. There is a grommet right in here. All right, that is the grommet we're going to use. I was thinking maybe there was a better spot, but there really isn't. I mean, this is the easiest, quickest way to get this wire in here and successfully. So we're going to utilize that grommet, guys. So that's what we're aiming for. That's how we're going to get the wire in cabin, okay? So the two wires that we need to get in cabin are both that switch green harness wire and, of course, our red 12 volt. Now, I'm pretty much just going to try to run the wire in here, keep everything on this side of the, apron into the, so it can drop down in here. We don't see any of the wire in the engine bay, and have the according harnesses fall down here where they should, because they could come really right from up in here and just literally follow the wheel liner on the upper side. Okay, so we're going to start putting the harness in there, stuffing it down, getting it in place, and then we'll get into getting the wire in the cabin. All right, guys, so what I'm going to do is start with our two wires here. Okay, I'm just going to start feeding them down. If you can see, I'm dropping them right here. All right, so I'm just going to be dropping them down. It's basically where we want them to go. All right, put some light in here. We can see around exactly where we want it. All right, so we got that dropped in. Now there's a few different holes and spots in that, fender cover, inside that black fender cover, that you can get this ran through. The grommet is more on the upper side of the, pillar here, of the A-pillar, so where it goes down into the, apron and frame rail. So what I'm going to do is get a specialty tool for that part, and I'm going to show you how we're going to pull these wires through. All right, guys, so here is the tool. Okay, this is a grabber tool. You can grab wires and other things. You just press on it and it grabs. Now, what we're going to do is come to the inner side of the fender here from the cabin side, and you can see the grommet is right here where I'm pointing at it with this thing. So the best opening, in my opinion, looks like it's right above where the door wires go in. So I'm just going to sneak this tool in there, and then I can do that to grab the wires. So let's see if we can find it on this side. And there it is, guys. It's right there. So I'm going to need both of my hands to do this, so I can, open it up on the door side and feed it in from right here. But that's how I'm going to escort those wires right through that hole. Okay, so I think I'm just going to do one at a time. Maybe I'll try to put both of them in there if I can, but that's how I'm going to pull it through, guys. You could probably do something similar with like a clothes hanger or something of that nature. Just anything to give you leverage to pull through that tight spot and get the wires accordingly here, where they belong. All right, so let's get this thing in. All right, guys, so I got my right arm in the cabin side, and I have my left hand here feeding this switch harness to the tool. I got it hooked. Let's see if it'll go through. She's coming out. It's really tight for that switch. It's there, pulled off. I think I might be able to get it in. All right, guys, so the grabber was able to get that right through. All right, so I got it pushed through, and then when it was right there at the edge, I have some long needle noses, and I literally just pulled it through. So it fits right into the spot here. Just went in, pulled it right out, guys. So that fed right through the exact spot that I wanted it to. Looks really good. Okay, so now I'm just going to pull a little bit of slack in here so we can get it ran accordingly. And I'm going to also pull the red wire in the same way to get it in cabin. So I'll use the grabber again, pull the red wire through, same spot, and then we'll have both of these wires ready to go into the cabin, and we'll get that grommet out. All right, guys, I got both wires. My, power wire I wanted in cabin, and my switch wire here ran through the spot that I wanted to right here. Now, next move here is to get this grommet out. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it by hand. I might have to put a plastic pry in there and finagle it, but Yeah, it's not feeling like it's going to be the easiest thing to do by hand. So I'm going to grab a plastic pry, should be able to pop that out. And then we're going to route these wires in, get our switch in, and then we'll go ahead and get the front situated. So the reason I want to get these wires in here ran perfect because I want to get the slack amount correct. I don't want to leave a bunch of extra because this harness, we're probably not playing with a lot of extra slack on it. So to get the most out of the harness and the most out of the wiring with the most length, I'm going to get this situated first. So then if there's any extra slack here from me, you know, coming in the grommet, coming through the kick panel up to this switch, I can pull a little bit back and we'll have as much slack as possible. So that's why I suggest dropping the harness in and doing it in cabin first, so then you can accurately get your, you know, slack and amount for the front as best as possible. Okay guys, so let's get that grommet out and we'll see where we're at. See if I can get my hand in here. Ah, actually I can. All right, I got it from the inside, guys. I started pressing it in and pushing it in. If you take your hand and just come up under here under the kick panel, you can feel it. So we're good. I pushed it in, but I still had access to it. So, all right, guys, there we go. So let's go ahead and get this wire in cabin and get our switch installed. All right, guys, grommet is out. Now, something I'm going to try is I have a grommet kit for doing aftermarket installations. All right, so this is, I think I got this from eBay many years ago. But that's what it is. It has a bunch of grommets. And this one in particular matches up pretty well to the OEM. So I took one and cut it up to be similar as the OEM. Just cut the back off and modified it a hair, and it should come in here and fit pretty darn good and give us an open grommet that is clean and looks OE. And yes, it feels like it is going to fit, guys. So see, it's almost pretty much all the way in. So what I want to do is feed the wire through it first, and then we're going to press this grommet in, and we should have our wires in cabin. All right, guys, there you go. You can see that grommet that I used fit like a glove. It's like an OE grommet, just with a little bit of modification, guys. So again, that is the grommet kit. Fits perfect from the OE grommet, which is, you know, right here. That's what I used. Came out great. Both of our wires are now in cabin. Okay, now what we need to do is get this blank off. There's just a piece here that you should be able to start pulling on, and you can see it's just popping off, guys. It's just held in with clips. Probably won't sound the best, but it's pretty simple to just come in here and start popping it off. There we go. All right, so now that's hanging. All right, and we can see with the back what this looks like where those blanks are. And it's just held in with some tabs. We should be able to come in and push that right out from the back. So let me put the camera down for you guys. All right, hopefully you can see it, guys, but so we come in here, pop that middle one out. There we go. So now you can see that is free. We got our wire here. We can pop our switch in, okay? So I got our switch right here. All right, so this is still loose. Got the switch. Just push it in. Is it in? It is. Nah, it doesn't fit great. There it is. Jesus. All right, there we go. Switch is in, guys. It's just a hair raised up when it's off, but then it presses in when it's on. Perfect, guys. Love it. It's pretty darn good. I'm actually kind of impressed with how that came out. So what we got to do now is just pretty much plug in our switch, get that 12-volt ran. I'm going to find a 12-volt accessory source here in the fuse box, and then we're going to go ahead and get this wired up here, and we'll have it all squared away here in cabin. All right, guys, I'm under here doing some testing with a multimeter in our fuse box here. Now, the fuse box diagram is right here under the steering wheel on the column. I was looking at some of these and to see what would make sense, and I saw number 45 here, which is a 10 amp, and that is an accessory. In my opinion, I wanted an accessory. It made the most sense, so I figured I would test it. So if we look in here at the fuse box, it's going to be the third one up right here. So I don't know if you can see where my pinky's pointing. I'll try to put an arrow to it, but it's the third one right here. That is number 45. Now, what I'm gonna do is test it real quick with you guys on camera to show you what I mean by an accessory. So it's at 0 volts. If I come, I have my multimeter grounded right there. If I come in and put the pin on that 10, on that fuse, it's at 0, okay? I got absolutely nothing. Now, if I come up here, hit the start button, all right, come back, all right, and go to that 10 fuse here. If I can get on it, look, there we go, we got voltage. All right, so that is 12 volts with the ignition on and 0 with it off. That's what we want. We don't want it always running. So I'm going to be using number 45 there with an add a fuse, and we'll be good to go. We're going to tap right into that. So let's get this added, and then we'll have our fogs all but set up in here with the switch and the power. All right, guys, I got my tap there added to number 45 in the fuse box. You can see we got the wire coming right out that we're going to crimp into. Got my voltmeter here just to confirm that we got voltage here. You can hear the ignition dinging, so yes, it is on. Bang, 12 volts, guys. So we got our source. Go ahead and turn this bad boy off. All right, so now that that is good, I'm going to connect our wire up here to the power. We'll be good to go. We can put this back together, get our slack right, and then we can put everything back together in the front, guys. So we're almost there. This is figured out, wired up, ready to go. Let's finalize it. All right, guys, so I got our add a fuse right there. See if I can get to it. Right there, in. Tuck the wire right there, crimped it right there behind the kick panel. Didn't even have to take the kick panel out. And I got the slack done on the switch. So the switch is in. We got our slack right here. Everything is good to go in cabin, guys. So we are all wired up in here. Very simple, just quick, clean as possible. All right, I'm gonna pop this back in. Ooh, falling all over. I'm gonna pop this back in once we are done and confirmed that it works with the switch. So I'm going to test that switch one more time, of course. But there it is, guys. Thing is added on. We got our wiring done here in cabin. So let's go ahead and get back to where it's coming out here on our fender and finish routing the wire. All right, guys, so you can see where we're coming out from the apron next to the fender in between. What I want to do is keep following the fender liner, so we're going to like route it right up through here, and we're just going to pretty much drop the wire down and run it accordingly, guys. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to pick these harnesses up, drop them down right in here, and I might have to use my grabber tool, but we're going to get this dropped down right here, get it ran accordingly with the fender well, and then we'll have both of our harnesses ran to both fog lights. All right, guys, and just for reference, you can kind of see the light down there. So just pretty much dropping these behind there, and I'm just going to feed it on down until I can grab it, and then I'll grab it on the other side once it comes down. Might take a little bit to find, but there we go, found it, guys. So that's all I want to do, drop all the wiring right through this spot right here from here, and then we'll get it all ran out accordingly. All right, guys, so you can see it's coming down. Got our driver's side one right here, so right in the vicinity that we want it. Now this other one here got a little bit of length to play with, so I'm probably going to bring it up through here and just run it underneath in between the plastic here of the grill and the plastic on that bumper beam, and just have it come out right here. I'll show you when it's done, but that's probably how I'm going to route it, guys. So let me go ahead and do that, and we'll come back when it's all routed. All right, guys, we are about there. Have this right here for the fog, and it's just going behind the beam, coming right here, ran underneath of this plastic, and it tucks in nice and tight there, holding it in place. It's actually a really good retainer right there. Got it running right here, dropping down. We got our driver's side here, and then running right back up to here. Now I dropped the relay and the fuse right behind here. Now only thing left is ground. Now this is not in the best spot in my opinion to finalize this, so can't really drop it down here and run it right here. So if we look here, this has got a gap underneath of it. I can take this wire, put it underneath here, and kind of hide it underneath here. Get it around, it'll come out here, and I can get it to this ground right there, guys. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get it to that ground, and I'm going to have to extend this one as well, just like I did on the positive. So I'm going to go ahead and extend this out, and I should be able to get it to cleanly route right around here to that ground, and then we'll be good to go, guys. So let's get that grounded. All right, guys, we are all squared away right here. So as you can see, I utilized the factory ground here with that wire. I just soldered in a connection, maybe about 5 inches big. All right, just to get enough slack from here to cross over. So if you can see, it's coming in, it's hidden underneath it here, it comes out quick, and then hidden on the fuse box, and this comes out and goes right to our factory ground. That's a great ground, obviously, because it's factory. It's no question that it's a good ground. So there we go, guys. Everything is tucked in here. The relay and the fuse is tucked in here. If I want, I can always grab in here and feel it out and pull it out if I had to. You can kind of see the wiring right there, but it's pretty clean, guys, all hidden in between the apron and the fender. The only thing we can really see is this wire going to the ground. That's it, guys. It is completely wired. So we got everything done in cabin as we went over. We got it dropping down right here. We got our fog there, and we got our fog wiring here. So everything is good, guys. It is time for bumper reinstallation. So I'm going to bring the bumper over here. We're going to test it, obviously, before we push everything and pop everything back together. But we're looking pretty good, guys. Let me grab the bumper. We'll put it right here on some blankets, and then we'll test it out. All right, guys, I got, my little carpet here and my 2 towels down. I wanted to sit the bumper on it, but the slack on this side wasn't quite long enough for it to reach with the bumper sitting on the ground. So I had to just kind of lightly, push it on, for lack of better terminology, just kind of hang it off of the front. But what we're going to do is test this out. Everything is plugged up. We got the ignition on. So I should be able to come here to our switch. Oh yeah, see the light green? Let's see if they're on. I heard it. Yup. They are on, guys. We have fog lights. They turned off. I think we got too much power going on, but we got it, guys. Good to go. Power is on. So I'm going to go ahead and get this button backed up. Just got to push this back on, pop it back in. Nothing crazy here. All right, so let's go ahead and get this pop back in. I'm gonna need 2 hands, guys, but it's just gonna pop right back in. Same thing as any other panel, really. So if you're familiar with doing this stuff, it really should be pretty simple. Just make sure it gets behind that weather stripping, and then we're good in the cabin, and then we'll get the front bumper back on. All right, guys, panel pop back in. Very straightforward, nothing crazy. All that is done in cabin. Now we just got to guide the bumper back on. All right, we're just gonna lightly get each side squared away. So I'm going to try to slide it up. This is why you want tape here too. You want to make sure you don't scrape anything up. So I'm going to put the camera down. I'm going to do it from the side how I, same way I took it off. Basically, it's the only good angle I really got. So we'll do that, and hopefully you can see just, me basically sliding it back into place. Nothing crazy. We're just putting it back in reversal how we took it off. All right, so let's get into it. All right, guys, nothing crazy here. Just kind of guiding it back into place. Kind of sketchy, but just gotta be careful. Make sure that you get this above the headlights. All right, so you want to make sure that's going above into where it belongs. Got that side looking good. This one's going to be the one that's going to fight this. Alright, I got that. Pretty close here, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a push clip and put one in to hold us in place. Alright. I'm going to pop one of these guys back in. Actually, I'm going to pop one back in on each side, just to hold this where we want it. There we go. So now that I got 2 push clips in the center, I can kind of start getting this guided back to where it needs to be. I'm gonna kind of get this behind the bumper, the fender liner. All right. All right, I'm gonna try to just get this pushed back into these tabs, guys. So just fighting the hair, but it should just start popping back into place. I think I got it. And that leaves this pretty much in place to go back where it belongs as well. And it should pop back in like that, guys. All right, all pop back in here. Okay, nothing crazy. Just have to kind of guide it back into place. All right, so you get the idea. Got the fender liner in here, so that's all good, guys. You want to get, you literally, I know nobody wants to hear the reversal of removal, but it is true. When you put this back on, as you see, I put the two clips, holding it in the middle. Once I got it, you know, escorted it back into the best position possible, and then I snuck this back in, which was the last thing we took off, and then I clipped it back in here. And then that'll now also allow this piece right here to go back in place, guys. So we are, you know, all but good right here. Everything is back in place. A little bit of grease here, I don't like that, but we'll wipe that off when we're done. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the other side, guys, and I'll have this all back together, and then we'll back on, I should say, and then it's just a matter of putting the clips back in and the screws and stuff, and bumper will be back on. All right, guys, we got the passenger side here all buttoned up as well, just like the driver. So looking really good. I got this plastic trim pop back in, nothing crazy. You just kind of finagle it in how you take it out. I'll do this one on camera with you guys real quick. All right, so we're just going to take it, try to start aligning all the tabs accordingly, and then you should be able to almost just finagle it and press it right behind the headlight. It's pretty easy. I think it's a little bit easier to put in than it is taking it out. So I can take my tape off here now, if it'll come off here in one piece. Doesn't look like it's going to cooperate, but I'm trying here. See? Yeah, she doesn't want to cooperate, but I'm going to pull this tape off, guys, and this is good to go. Really, all the clips and the pushing in of all the parts is all done. I got the clip back in here, all the clips lining here, so all this is good, guys. All we need to do is put our Phillips back up in here, Phillips here, push clip back, all the push clips on the bottom, along with the 10 mil and the other Phillips, and we're done, guys. So let's finalize this and get the bumper retained, and we are good to go. All right, guys, so I got that Phillips right there back in, retaining our bumper right there. Okay, now we got our Phillips right here going in, holding, retaining the fender liner to the bumper. Get that started by hand real quick. Just get a couple turns on it. Good to go. Take my Phillips screwdriver. Just want to get that locked in real quick. And there we go, guys. That is nice and tight, locked in. Good to go. We just have our push clip right there. And after looking at this disassembled, it's possible you might be able to do this. I think you could do this without even removing this push clip, but I think it does make it a bit easier to pull the fender liner back, guys. So somewhat helpful to have out, and it's not a big deal to pop out. So we got that back in, guys. So everything here is retained. Got the two Phillips, the one holding the bumper to the fender, Phillips here, fender liner to the bumper, and our push clip. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Then we just got to put everything back on underneath, and we are done. All right, guys, I got the passenger side done with the two Phillips and the push clip. Time to finalize this underneath the car. We're just pushing push clips back in. All right, nothing crazy, pushing push clips back in. Remember, we got our Phillips and our 10 mil here, so they will go right back in here. But I'm gonna go ahead and get all these push clips in, guys, and then we'll fire those back in, and then we'll be done. All right, guys, all the push clips are back in. So time to get our final two pieces here, which is this Phillips right here. We'll get that started hand tight, and then we have our 10 mil right here. Get that going and started. All right, so that is started as well, guys. We got both of these started. We're just gonna fire them in with the impact. Let's get this 10 mil. Good. And the Phillips. Good. All good, guys. All clips in. 10 mil Phillips in. Just got to put the 10 mil and the Phillips in on the other side, lock it in. We're done. All right, guys, just so you can see here, everything is back. Push clips are back. All right, 10 mil Phillips, everything under here is back together, guys. We are good to go. All right, guys, we are fully back together. I just turned the headlights on with the fogs, and man, she looks great. I'm gonna get some final shots, of course, but figured I'd go ahead and give you the preview. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing off the jack stands, get it back on the ground. Just wanted to give you a little preview. I think this is like a good light. It's not sunny, it's just like, it's getting dark out here, so pretty good light to get a good idea what this is gonna look like, but definitely happy with it, guys. Perfect match, exactly what you want, guys. So I'm gonna get this thing on the ground and get some final shots.